In our research for this project, we found reusable bags are more multifunctional than plastic bags, and it's easier to control what germs they encounter. We control their touch points, and they stay with us at all times. Plus, COVID-19 may be less likely to survive on soft surfaces like fabric than hard surfaces like plastic. We all know the frustration of plastic bags tearing and breaking open, but cloth bags can hold more weight and don't tear. According to the Natural Resources Defense Council, the average American family uses 1,500 bags a year. With Denver County now charging 10 cents a bag, reusable bags save $150 a year for families. This is a really big deal for making grocery shopping affordable for the families we donated them to. Reusable bags also save money through eliminating recycling costs for bags and save hundreds of millions of dollars on coastal litter cleanup expenses. Reusable t-shirt bags won't cause deaths by suffocation and ingestion. Plastic bags are huge contributors to flooding and drainage problems that help mosquitoes spread West Nile virus. T-shirt bags make us all safer in this way. Washing these bags is as easy as throwing them in the washing machine. No more sticky messes or unwanted germs after grocery shopping. Using these t-shirt bags instead of switching to paper bags also saves trees and energy.
Hi everyone, I am here to show you a tutorial on how to make these t-shirt bags. So we're going to start with getting a t-shirt that is clean and you're ready to donate.
So here's the t-shirt that I'm going to be working with. And you're going to lay your t-shirt on a flat surface, hard surface, and you're going to just smooth it out so that all of those little wrinkles are handled. And then our first cuts are going to be right here around your armpit and here around the neckline. So try to make those cuts as evenly as possible so that you don't have any jagged edges at the end. So I'm just using regular scissors to do this. We've made our first cut around our armpit and around our neckline. Now we're going to cut around here. And you can go as deep around the armpit and the neckline as you would like. Just keep in mind that however thick you make it up here is how thick your handles will be. So I like having kind of a thick handle situation. We're going to put our scraps to the side because I'll show you what to do with those in just a little bit. Now, I want you at this point to consider whether you want to have your logo or if your shirt has any kind of pattern to it, if you want that on the outside or the inside of your bag. So this one is a pretty cool logo, so we want this on the outside of our bag when we finish. So we're going to turn our shirt inside out and work from it the other side. I like to keep it right side out when I do the cutting, so I make sure I don't cut my logo accidentally. So we're just going to re-smooth out our shirt. Just like this. And then we're going to come to the bottom of the shirt. You're going to go a couple inches up from the bottom. So keep in mind that your armpit edge to where you're doing this cut will be about a couple inches longer than how long you want your bag to be. So I'm just going to cut off about that much of my shirt. Again, try to keep this edge as neat as you can because it'll make things easier in just a little bit. Set that scrap aside. And then we're going to start cutting strips up our shirt just like this. You're going to keep these strips fairly narrow. You can play around with the width if you do a couple different shirts. I like to do my strips about this wide. If you get started tying and your strips aren't long enough, they don't go deep enough, you can always come back through and make them a little bit deeper in order to have more material to work with when you're tying them. So again, this is about the width that I like to make them. So you're going to do that all the way along the edge of your shirt. On the ends, you're just going to come through and make sure you cut this little piece in half so that makes 2 ties. And then we're going to start tying. So cut through all of those first, that's what I recommend. And then you're going to come through and you're going to tie this top strand to this bottom strand. So you can see these are my 2 top strands, my 2 bottom strands. Tie this one to this one and this one to this one. It just gives you a little bit of cross stability as you start going across. Then if you have any extra bottom from these ties, so we'll try this real quick. So again, we're just cross tying those two. Now I may come back through and do an extra knot for the front to the back on those first two strands. So this way you give it a couple extra stability knots. So again, you're gonna go through the whole thing, do that along every single one of them, and we're gonna skip ahead and show you how this will look in the next stage. So I'm gonna show you that cross situation just one more time. So you've got your front two pieces and your back two pieces, and you're just gonna tie the front of this one to the back of this one, the front of this one to the back of that one, to give you a little X here and give you just a little bit more cross stability. See how I still have some extra tie space on here. I'm gonna cross over to those first two knots that we tied. Just give us, again, some more cross stability. Give us some more protection against any holes. This will mean it'll hold up better with your groceries. So if I have any tails that are a little bit longer and still hanging out, I'm just gonna keep tying them across. It doesn't have to be to a specific one at this point. You just want to get as many crosses as you can in to give it that extra stability and strength and to prevent any holes. So once you get all of your knots tied all the way across, you're going to turn it and go from the inside. And you're going to hold it up to a light and see if you can see any little holes through there. Because if you can see any light through any of those little pieces, you're gonna need to do a couple of more crosses. So the only other thing that I want to mention to you is do consider where you want your ties to be. So if you want your ties to be inside your bag, then make sure that you tie them on the opposite side of your logo. If you want it to be showing and you want that extra detail showing on your shirt, then you're gonna wanna tie it with your logo out. And then you'll tie up the bottom and it'll show along the bottom with that cute little detail. And then once you've got those all tied, you'll have a nice little t-shirt bag to use. So this one I'll finish up tying and show you what it looks like at the end. You can also use a fancy cutter if you don't want to use scissors and you have a fancy cutter, because why not? Again, you're going to just cut around those sleeves, and however thick you make it at the top is going to be how thick it is. Make sure that you move it so you can cut around your neckline. Then make sure you put your blade back in and lock it. And then we're gonna serge this one so you can see how this one works when you serge it. So we're just gonna flip it inside out so that our logos are on the outside when we're done, and we'll cut off this bottom strip and serge it. So this is by far the easiest option. So if you have a serger, I highly recommend this option. Make sure you keep your fingers clear and just run it through the serger. And you're done. And just flip it inside out and make sure that you don't have any holes, and that's it. So this is the third option, and this is another easy option. So if you just have a sewing machine and you want to do it that way, this is a great option. So start a little bit on your fabric, And you're gonna back stitch just a couple stitches so that you're off the fabric, and then you're gonna go ahead and go forward. I'm leaving about a half an inch. Again, make sure that you do not get your fingers around there, because we want you to finish this project with all of your fingers intact. Go off your fabric and then do a couple back stitches so that you can make sure it's nice and locked up, and then you're good. Cut your threads and you are complete with 3 t-shirt bags now. So at this point we have cut up our strips. I have cut a couple of them down to a slightly thinner size so that they are all about that wide. And I've stacked them in 2 piles, so I have 2 stacks of 4 strips each. It doesn't really matter how many you put in each pile, or if you want to put them all together and make a bigger toy. It doesn't matter. Whatever you want to do is great. I like using my collar pieces to tie these end bits. So that is what I'm going to do. I'm going to tie this around here, and then I can go ahead and braid this from between this one, and I'm going to put another collar piece here, just tie that around there in a nice little knot. So it'll be kind of tied off here and here, and I can either braid this in between or I can leave it open so that these strands kind of are just hanging out in between there. Gives the dog something fun to play with. I'm going to braid this one, and this one I'm going to go ahead and leave straight in between. And I do have one other piece of the collar over here, and I have one more sleeve to be able to work with from this one t-shirt bag that we made just a minute ago. So this one is braided and just straight with 2 knots at the end. This one is braided, so you have 2 different braids with knots at each end. And then this one, instead of being braided, is just twisted. So it's the yellow was twisted, the green was twisted, and then they were twisted together. So there was 4 strands all together. So there's 2 twists of the green and yellow, and then those 2 were twisted together. I tied a knot here and a knot here, so it kind of creates a circular fun toy. This one is twisted, and then it's tied in the middle with a knot and a knot at each end. This toy is the one that was open on the middle, and I just tied 2 pieces of green for extra knots in the middle. So this is just strips with knots around them. This one's a toy for maybe a smaller dog, and it's just knots around loose pieces of fabric. Same thing with this one. And all of these are created just from those 3 t-shirts that we just created for the tutorial. So you can create a lot of dog toys with a very limited number of shirts that you make into bags.